Okay, so we had a catastrophic failure. Gonna do my best to explain this so you can see. Let me see if the camera will focus. So you notice there's a ginormous crack. That happened while trying to tighten this down on top of our air compressor. Welcome back to yet another 213 Crispy video, and today we are going to do video number 2 of our air compressor. So we've got the parts to connect our 3-way to our safety pressure switch, and we got the new gauge to install over here. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. So let's get the camera set up. We'll go over some of the parts that we've got and the tools, and we're going to go from there. Okay, so as you see, we've got our new gauge, and the difference from the old one is the old one, the fitting was on the back end of it, and it was causing a clearance issue when we were trying to install it to our air compressor. So we had to get a new one that was, first of all, quarter NPT, and also we wanted a side port, so that way when I mount it, you can see it, versus it facing the opposite direction, which is what I didn't want. And then we got some ferrules and some pressure caps for our pressure fitting. And then we got some 1/4-inch copper. This is what it's going to take to make this particular outfit work. So this is what we got. Tools that's going to be needed. I believe it's going to be a 9/16 wrench. And that's going to be to fit our brass fitting for our gauge. And then you are going to need, I believe it's a 1/2 inch for our nuts when we go to install that. So you're going to need those 2 wrenches, and then you're going to need a pipe cutting tool to be able to cut our pipe without kinking it or compressing it, because what happens is if you use some other tools that are not designed for it, besides like a cutting wheel or something like that on a Dremel, that would work perfect, but you can't use pliers or like wire cutters because it'll actually compress and collapse the copper, and then when you do that, it'll actually oval it out. So when you try to put these on, they don't fit. So to save you the hassle, go ahead and pick you up the tool. It's very simple, very easy. They're actually pretty inexpensive, but let's go and get you reset back up. Hopefully we can make this video pretty quick. The hardest part is just going to be bending the copper to make it fit, and we're going to do all this on camera. So let's get you reset back up on the air compressor, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're going to start with replacing the gauge. Very simple, very easy. We did not install this very tight to begin with, so I can actually undo this by hand. So what happens is when you putting this one in, there's actually a little nipple that sticks out underneath this, and it's what actually causes the interference with our old gauge. So with the new gauge, I've already put our tape that we needed, and it's 1/4-inch NPT, so it does not take any kind of reducers or couplers or anything. And then you're going to take your wrench, which is, like, again, 9/16. And a trick with these is if you rotate your wrench around, you can actually get about, I think it's 20 or 30 degrees extra. So when you're dealing with tight spaces, just a simple rotation of your wrench. And I want to put it about 45 degrees out because of where I'm going to be putting it in my garage. That way if I'm up close I can still see it, and if I'm far away I can still see it. And then the way I've got it oriented, 150 degrees or 150 psi is towards the top. So that way It's going to make it very easy for me to see what's going on with the pressure with our air compressor. Then the last part is just opening up our package for copper. This I picked up at Rural King. So between the box of copper and the 2 fittings, I believe I was only probably $7.50, $8, somewhere around there. Not very expensive at all. So I'm not going to make this pretty. I don't care about making it look right. I just simply care about function. And since we're doing this by hand and we don't have the tools that we need to do this job 100% correct, we're just going to do this by hand. And what I'm going to try to do is come out, curve it around, and then go underneath here and go straight in. That's the game plan. So I don't want to kink this up too much. And like I said, copper, it's pretty soft. You can move it pretty well, pretty easy. So get you a decent section and start forming it the how you want it.
Daddy, what are you doing?
We're making a video. What are you doing, little helper?
I'm not the helper.
Yes, you are. You're my helper. You want to say hi to everybody? Hold on.
Hi.
Are you done watching the movie Ralph Breaks the Internet?
No.
No? Okay. Watch out. You're right in the way, kiddo. I'm going to cut this piece long on purpose.
Daddy.
So, how to use the tool. Watch out, kiddo. So, how to use the tool correctly is you measure out your piece and simply twist this down until you get it snug. Keyword is snug.
Hi, everything.
And then you're just going to go around a couple times till it frees up a little bit. And then give it another twist. Go around a little bit. It'll free up. Give it another twist. Simply just keep doing this. And then there goes the tool and the copper. Very simple, very easy. Notice, still round, so we did not force this through. That's the key to dealing with copper. So, now that we've dropped everything, this gives you an idea of what we're dealing with. So, what I'm thinking about is something like so. So that looks pretty good. So really, it's just a matter of getting this to line up. So we're gonna go about right here. And I'm gonna cut this, again, still on the longer side. I'm using my fingers to reference. Nice, simple, slow. It's about through. You can feel it right when it lets go. So now what you're going to do is drop your ferrule. Is slide one of your compression nuts first on, then one of your ferrules, and make sure that goes all the way in. And I am not going crazy tight with this. I'm just going to do hand tight to keep it from moving too much. And then you're going to do the same down here. The kicker with this is we're probably going to have to finagle this to get this to fit better. which is why I said do not tighten any of this down. Because the copper is still soft bendable with pretty much no major issues.
Daddy. Daddy.
What, kiddo?
It's just not from down.
Okay, we'll go take the forks back in. Thank you for letting me know. That looks pretty good there. Just bring this on down. Now the kick to this, or the key I should say, is don't go crazy tight with these, because if you go crazy tight, they will snap, they will crack, just like the other set did that we had on part 1. You remember how we split the nut in half? It was because I was trying to fix a leak by tightening it up, thinking that that's what it needed. Okay, now the key to this, when you tighten these down, is you want to go until they are snug, and you'll feel the resistance about right there. It's about as far as I want to go. So you'll tighten them up with your 1/2-inch wrench. Do not go crazy tight with these, and you'll feel everything tighten up. And what you're doing when you're actually crimping this down, when you're putting the nut on, and I can't do it this way, but imagine this nut going over here and sliding down, and when you're pushing down on this, the way the compression fitting is designed is it crimps and squeezes this bushing around your pipe and squeezes that together and makes a fitting, and that is called a compression fitting. It's very common in a lot of plumbing parts. That's why you see this. Technically it's a plumbing piece. So now let's go ahead and we are going to do our test fire, and we'll see if we got any pressure build up and do a function test on everything to see how well or how bad of a leak we got. I have not checked this since we did the work on it last, so this is all new to me. So we got it plugged in. We have a leak. So the back side of this pressure regulator is a hole that I did not know existed. So let's see what it's going to take to fill that hole up, and we'll go from there. So after further investigation, this port is the same size as this, which ironically is a 1/8 inch NPT plug. I'm positive I have the plug somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So in this case, because I happen to have this extra gauge that I bought off eBay that they sent the wrong one for, I'm just going to salvage it, or scavenge it I should say, and use it as my plug to fill up this port on the regulator. It's all it's being used for. Unfortunately, it serves no other purpose for me. And I believe this is a 7/16, which it is. So yes, I know it's going to look weird having two gauges, well, three gauges, this gauge, and now this gauge facing the bottom, but why buy a plug when I have a perfectly good gauge that I could use? So now that we've got our main pressure, our regulator pressure, ball valve, hose hookup for unregulated pressure, let's go ahead and do our final test. And we're gonna fire it up, watch our gauges, make sure everything functions like it's supposed to. Okay, so as you see, we are right at 150 psi, which is right where this is supposed to shut off, which is fantastic. This gauge is reading 140, I'm gonna call that 145, and honestly that's probably what that one's reading as well. So it's close enough to 150 that we're gonna get. So I'm going to do a dump on our ball valve over here to get this down to 110 psi, and it's gonna kick back on. So key to this, noise alert. So that was 1 minute and 22 seconds for recovery time. I will take that any day of the week. So now I'm gonna sit here for a minute, listen. I'm gonna feel around a little bit. I mean, obviously the tank's gonna be warm because we're pushing air in. So what happens with an air compressor, there's a piston that goes around up and down, actually right here. That piston is sucking air in. When it goes down and pushes it back up, goes through the PVC and through this three-way check valve into your tank. When it does that, it actually generates water as well. So there is a drain on the bottom of this tank that is supposed to be done religiously if you use it a lot, but if it's just basic home use, probably every few months would be perfectly fine. They make kits that can also be hooked up to this. I may look into something like that later down the road, but for now, for this video, I'm not going to do that yet. I don't hear any leaks, and I don't see the pressure going down too much, but we're going to find out here. I'm going to leave this unplugged. We're going to turn off the switch, and I'm going to drop this down to probably, I don't know, 100 psi or so, and I'm going to leave it at that overnight, and we're going to come back and check it and go from there. I will give you guys an update. This is probably going to be a 3-part video. Make sure you check out part 1 if you haven't yet. That was us figuring out what we actually had for an air compressor, what parts we needed, and kind of get an idea from there. This video is to finish the build, because we had some parts that were not compatible with this air compressor, so we had to go back to the drawing board, refigure that out. That's going to be this video, which is part 2, and then part 3 is going to be actually installing it in the garage, and hooking up an air hose reel to it, and some other stuff. So with that, I believe we are going to wrap this video up. If you guys enjoy these kind of videos, please give me a thumbs up if you do. If you don't, give me a thumbs down. Whichever way, I use all of that feedback for future footage for me. Also, make sure you leave a comment down below if you guys have done anything similar to this and had some problems or suggestions on especially running air hosing in a garage. I would appreciate any feedback to give me any headaches down the future. And make sure you guys give me your subscription if you enjoy our videos. That's the most important part to me, is I want to make sure that I give you guys the proper content that you're looking for. So comment on anything that you're interested in down the road. I still have not tackled a future video yet, which is in the makings of the Toro Super Bagger lawnmower that I got to get repaired for myself. So it looks like we've lost a couple PSI since then. So noise alert, we're gonna drop this down to, we're gonna go down 100 PSI. So watch your ears. So you notice, we move the camera so you can see it's actually reading a tick over 100. So let's drop it down a little bit more. I'm gonna call that perfect. I know from this angle it actually looks like it's a little below, but that's because we're going straight down at it. So if you're sitting dead even with that gauge, it's smack dab right at 100. And just to show you that I'm not lying, oop, come on camera, work with me.